Any clarification, reactions, objections, disagreement, or what have you? Meron? Wala. Bayan. Bayan. It's either you didn't understand or di ko alam, or you didn't listen or di ko alam. Kasi alam niyo class, I always say to my class, if I give a lecture and then people don't ask me a question, I always say to myself, I'm a failure. You see, class. The lecture is supposed to prompt you to think. It's supposed to stimulate you to analyze, to think. I mean, if my lecture didn't stimulate you to think, to analyze, and then my lecture is a failure. You understand, class? Parang palagi kong sinasabi yun na really. Okay, so yes, Doc Stephen.
Regarding po doon sa paggawa po ng title ng research, meron po bang parang certain limit po ng words or wala po?
Bakit naman yun ang tanong mo? Wala naman yun sa lecture ko.
Na-curious lang po ako doon kasi intro po kasi.
Okay lang. When you go to the second year, I will teach you, I will give you a lecture on how to write the title, the introduction. Dito kasi ngayon, ang ating lecture ngayon ay mga concepts muna. But to answer your question, yes. But since tinanong mo na rin yon, so yes, to answer your question, yes. Actually, ang title later on, pero when you go to the second year, medyo mahaba yung aking lecture on writing the title. Medyo mahaba yun. Sa second year yon. Now, but anyway, tinanong mo na rin, up to 12 words. 10 to 12 words, up to 12 words. Kasi many medical journals ngayon, lalo na ngayon, this pandemic, and even prior to this pandemic, many medical journals would want you to, kasi okay, prior to saying that, okay, the background here is that I want you, class, when you write a research paper, I want you to write a research paper that can be published in a medical journal. Sorry. Okay, so ang background dito is that I want you, when you write a paper, I want you to write a paper that can be published in a medical journal. Because I always say to people, writing a paper without publishing it is a waste of time. But of course, that's not a waste of time sa inyo. Pero if you think it that way, I should stimulate you. You should be encouraged. You should be motivated to publish a paper. Because really, class, we want you to publish a paper. Now, so yun yung rationale dito. So many, kaya nga nagsalita ako ng medical journals na, okay, many, when publishers would want you to submit to them, to the publisher, for publication, they want you to submit the paper, your paper, electronically. So there is an electronic submission. And many electronic submissions will prevent you from, they have a policy that title should be no more than 12 words. So that when you submit a paper electronically, and then nakita from the electronic submission na more than 12 words yon, hindi na siya tatanggapin. Later on, I'll be talking more of this, no, on writing the title when you go to the second year. Pero hindi ito ang topic natin. It's not the topic. It's not our topic in the first year, the introduction of research. But nevertheless, you asked that question, so I had to answer it.
Thank you
more on
po.
that later on. More on that later on. Pero I want you to ask questions related now to the topic that I have given you. Any questions? More questions? Pwede ba? Oh. Sige. Any more? Wala. Yes, Dr. Andrea May, thank you.
Doc, I'm a little bit confused lang po about the difference po between research problem and a research question po. Can you give us more example po?
Okay, very good. So that was also the question that was asked of me a while ago in another section. Okay, you see class, sabi ko nga kasi a research problem is the same as the statement of the problem. A research problem is a problem. A statement of the problem is a statement of the problem. Exactly, the statement of the problem. And a research question is different from a research problem or a statement of the problem, because a research question is a question that is formulated from the research problem. Let me repeat that. A research question is a question that you formulate from the research problem that you have identified. You see, class, let's put it this way. Many people come to me for consultation for their research, and they give me the topic. This is the topic that I want. Or prior to that, let me give you a background. When I had my master's in biostatistics, and that was years ago, many years ago. No, our professors would always tell us when we present to them a topic, they would always ask us, "What is your research question?" It seems to me that research begins with a research question. Now, when I graduated and began to teach research to people, then when I became more comfortable with researches, okay. So I thought that research does not begin with a research problem, or with a research question. Rather, research begins with the research problem. And the research problem really is a problem. That is why when people come to me for research consultation and they ask me, "Sir, is this a good topic for a research?" So they present to me the topic, the title, or just the topic of their paper. The first thing that I ask of them is, what is the problem? What is the problem? You see, class, there has to be a problem that you see And from the problem that you see, I want now to make a research. I want now to make a research. You understand? So, and from the problem that I have stated, or from the problem that I have seen, I now formulate a research question, and the research question is supposed to answer the research problem or give solution to the research problem. So really, class, the statement of the problem and the research questions are two different things. But unfortunately, I don't know why a lot of people, when they talk of statement of the problem, they ask a research question. Now, I actually gave you an example of that in my lecture to you. So I hope you were able, I mean, you tried to understand it. And then in another section, the first section, just, I mean, the 9 o'clock class, another student asked me, can you give me more examples of how not to write a statement of the problem? So I said, okay, I'm not prepared to answer your question, but I have to go back because, as I said, always say to people, the examples that I give you are not hypothetical examples. These are actual researches given to me during consultation. So I tried to look into my file, and then I show this to you. I showed this file to them, and I would like to show it to you now, just so you'd be able to understand. So I have tried to remove the name of the hospital. I don't know if I have removed all of them, and then the name of the author, I mean, just for data privacy. Now, so this is a paper, a thesis. Well, again, the author of this paper is a nurse, a supervisor in one hospital. Okay, she came to me for consultation. She asked me to analyze her paper, and she gave me this proposal. This is actually a thesis for Masters of Arts. She's about early 50s. Okay, so this is the title of the paper. Now, and then the problem and its background, very lengthy. Later on, we'll teach you, and then the background of the study, and then the local, and then the statement of the problem. Listen, statement of the problem. This study aims to determine. Is that a statement? This is the objective of the study. If you say this study aims to determine, this is the objective of the study. That's not the statement of the problem. But this is how you write. This is how a lot of people write. That's why I say, why do people talk of statement of the problem and talk of the objective? And then specifically, after stating the objective of the study, and then it says, specifically, this study seeks to answer the following questions. So this now becomes a research question. Statement of the problem, talking of the objective, and talking of the research question under the heading statement of the problem. So something is wrong. Diba? So, but I don't know why people don't seem, because this paper was of course, this was presented in a panel, and the panelists are people who are supposed to teach research. And I don't want before this paper was given to me for for analysis, this paper should have passed a panel. So they should have been approved, but during the presentation, in the approval, I don't know why. This was not corrected. So it talks of the research problem, of the research questions. And then this is another thing that I didn't mention in my in my lecture to you. Okay, But because I just saw it now, I mean, a while ago, let me just tell you, class, that this is incorrect. I mean, you don't talk of significant. A lot of people, almost 90% of people, when they talk of association or difference, they always talk of significant. Is there a significant difference? When they talk of a research question or an objective, they talk of significant. Class, let me say to you that don't never talk of significant in a research question, in a research hypothesis, in an objective, because you only talk of significant after you have collected and analyzed the data. So after you have analyzed the data, and then you now determine whether the difference or the association is significant or not. But never talk in a research question. Just say, is there a difference between? Don't talk of significant, because you cannot answer this question without analyzing. So talk first of significant. Tanggalin nyo na. Just remove the significant. Just say, is there a difference? Okay. Now, and this one is a recommendation. That's part of, I don't know. And then there is the hypothesis. And then the significance of the study. You talk of hospital administration, nursing service, nursing administrator. You see, class, later on when I teach you, when you go to the second year, I will be teaching you how to write the introduction using the 3-paragraph rule. But that's going ahead because that will be in the second year. But if you noticed in my lecture to you, when I talked about research problem, research question, and research hypothesis, I never talked of null hypothesis. I never talked of alternative hypothesis, because I don't want to. I am a biased statistician, and when I teach biostatistics in my class, we talk of null and alternative hypothesis, because this null and alternative hypothesis really are what we teach in biostatistics, or one of the things that we teach in biostatistics. But in research class, I don't want you to be talking of the null. So never did I talk of the null hypothesis, never did I talk of the alternative hypothesis in my lecture to you when I talked of research problem, research question, and research hypothesis. So when you go to the second year, never talk of that. Don't write null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. Okay, class. You see, class, what I would like to teach you, to discuss to you, and I actually said this when we first met, is we want you to make a paper that can be published in a medical journal. So it's a paper that's in a publishable form. And that paper is not, and that publishable form is not the thesis format. We don't want you to be making a thesis. So don't talk of thesis. Okay. Sadly, class, and I'm sad. That's why I said sadly. When you go to the second year, when people go to the second year, first year, when you go to the second year, okay, you're supposed to apply what you learned here in the first year. Introduction to research. You're supposed to apply what you learned here in this semester. When you go to the second year, when you start writing the research protocol or the research proposal, you should be applying what you learn here in this semester. Sadly, when people go to the second year and then start to write a research proposal, they write the research proposal as they did when they were in pre-med, meaning they applied what they learned when they were in pre-med, and that was years ago. But when you go to the second year and then start writing the research proposal, you should be applying what you should have learned 1 semester ago or 2 semesters ago. But sadly, as I said, students write their research proposal the way they did when they were in pre-med. And that was many years ago. That was more than 1 year ago. You understand? I don't understand, why do you apply what you learned years ago and not apply what you learned 1 semester ago? You understand? That's why I'm sad. That's why I'm sad. Really, class. That's why I say to people, I don't know if I said this to you last time when we first met, kasi I always say this to people. I don't know when did I say it. So let me just repeat it if I have said this to you last time. Class, when you go to the second year, you may have and start to write on the research proposal or the research protocol. You may have to unlearn what you have learned before. Let me repeat that. You may have to unlearn what you have learned when you were in pre-med. Because I want you, class, to apply what we teach you, what we will teach you in this class, what we will teach you in this class. So please apply that. Please apply what we teach you. There are a lot of things that I will be teaching you, that I will be discussing you, that's very different from what you learned when you were in pre-med. And that is why I say you may have to unlearn what you have learned when you were in pre-med. Okay? So please just take note of the difference. Take note of the difference. So first, you will be writing, when you go to the second year, you will be writing a research paper that has the format of a medical journal, not the thesis format. So don't talk of thesis. Still, students, when they go to the second year and they consult me, say, my thesis, we are not teaching you how to write a thesis. And then, sir, in chapter 1, no, don't talk of chapter. There are no chapters in a medical journal. You don't find chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 in a medical journal. Don't talk of chapters. Okay, when you write the introduction using the 3-paragraph rule. And I will teach you how to write the introduction using the 3-paragraph rule. A lot of medical journals, especially those famous medical journals like New England Journal of Medicine, British Medical Journal, they write the introduction using the 3-paragraph rule. And I will teach you how to write the introduction using the 3-paragraph rule. When I read introduction from people, introduction is very, very long. After reading the introduction, I ask myself twice, thrice. I read the introduction, it's very long, twice, thrice. And then I ask myself, ano daw? I didn't understand what the paper is all about. Because the introduction is supposed to tell the reader, why will you study? I didn't understand why will that author study? Let me repeat that. Introduction is supposed to tell us, why will you study? Why will you study? But I cannot answer that question after reading a very lengthy introduction. Okay? Any more questions? Really, class, I don't understand why when you talk of a statement of the problem, you are talking of the objective and the research question. I don't understand. As I said, the statement of the problem is as what the phrase says, a statement of the problem, but the objective, not the research question. It says statement of the problem. It is what it is. Exactly, di ba? So I don't know. I always say, I also had my thesis when I had my master's in biostatistics, but I didn't write the way you did. People do. I don't know why. I don't know who's teaching you. You see, class, you come from different schools. You come from not only from FEU, you come from different schools. And you write the same way. I don't understand who's teaching you. I don't understand. Some 2 weeks ago, a consultant in another hospital, not in FEU, made an appointment with me to consult me on her. She's a consultant about late 40s. She got an appointment with me to consult her 2 research papers. The first research paper was her co-authors were Filipinos in the Philippines. And then the second paper, her co-authors were foreigners. And the proposal was actually written by a foreigner. In the proposal, in the first proposal, the one who wrote the proposal was a Filipino. And the first proposal that they wrote talked about very much like the way what I showed to you a while ago. Talked of the statement of the problem, but not stating the problem, but talked of the objective and the research question, talked of the significance of the study to the hospital administrator, to the UC class. Later on, I'll tell you, don't talk of these people. Just say what the significance of the study is in a paragraph form. You don't have to mention the hospital administrator, the government, the politicians, and lastly, that's inevitably you always write to future researchers. You don't have to say that. You don't have to mention all of those people. Just say what the significance of the study is. Later on, you will understand that that's part of the 3-paragraph rule. And exactly how they wrote. Now, on the other hand, the one that was written by a foreigner, and I suppose that was written by a foreigner because the first name was the foreigner. Okay, I suppose it was written the way medical journals are written from a foreigner. So the difference, you see, I don't know why here in the Philippines people talk of these things. I don't know why. I don't know. I see here Dr. Ko Yang Yun.
Yes, Doc.
Where are you from?
South Korea po.
From Korea. Where did you have your pre-med?
In Korea.
In Korea. Do you write researches? Did you have thesis in pre-med?
No, Doc.
No. So you didn't write a research before?
Yes, never before.
Okay. Okay. Are you familiar with the format, the way Filipinos write? That was the
Not
first
really.
time. So that was the first time that I showed to you that format.
Yes,
Now,
Doc.
yeah. Okay. So okay, very good. So at least now you don't have a background on how to write. Because as I said, it's a lot easier for people who don't have any background, to digest the things that we will be saying to you here. Okay, because you don't have a background, so you will just have to accept what I will be telling you. Sometimes it's really difficult to unlearn what you already have learned. That's one problem sometimes. If what you learn is not really correct, well, I don't know. Any more questions? Any more questions? Any more questions? Questions? Okay. So while you see class, let me just say this to you. I normally am sad, frustrated, disappointed when I give a lecture and people don't ask me a question. You see, class, a lecture is supposed to stimulate your minds for you to think, to analyze. And so if I was able to stimulate you from my lecture, that means I was successful in my lecture. Now, if nobody will ask me a question after giving a lecture, then I say to myself, I'm a failure. I was not able to stimulate you. I was not able to let you think. That's the reason why you don't ask me questions. Really, class, I always say to people, if people don't ask me questions after I give a lecture, and then I say to myself, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I failed in my lecture. I was not able to stimulate your minds. Well, you see, Filipinos, especially Filipino students are shy. They don't want to ask questions. Probably because people might think that or your classmates or the professor himself might think that you are asking you're asking a stupid question. People might think that your question is a stupid question. Really, class, let me tell this to you. No such thing as a stupid question. No such thing as a stupid question from students. No such thing. There are only stupid answers from professors. There are only stupid answers from professors, but no stupid questions from students. So don't what do you call this? Don't be shy to ask questions. Okay, if I don't know the answer, then I will have to tell you, I don't know. I don't know. You caught me unaware, and I will have to give you my answer the following week. Yes, thank you, Doc Audrey. Okay.
May nagpapatanong lang po sa ang isa
Papatanong. Sige, go ahead. It's all right.
Aside from the 3 kinds of research daw po, are there any kinds of research pa daw po ba?
So I talked of the basic, the epidemiologic, and the epidemiologic and the clinical. Well, I'm talking of medical research. There are other kinds, of course, but let me just tell you, class, that the kind of research that we will teach you here in the first year, later on in the second year, is a quantitative research. There are qualitative researches. There are qualitative research that are very good, except that we are not teaching you here qualitative research. That should be another topic. But unfortunately, that's not part of what we teach you. Some of my colleagues, especially those who are into qualitative research, would want me as well to tackle at least somehow qualitative research. But given the time, given the you see, we only have 1 hour a week. So given that time that's given to me, I don't think I will be able to tackle qualitative research. First, second, qualitative research is not my forte. Qualitative research is not my specialty. I am more on quantitative research. So, and that is why later on, when we go to the second year, well, I discourage you from doing a qualitative research. Well, not only because we didn't teach you that, because as I said, the second year is supposed to be an application of what you learn here in the first year. So we don't teach you qualitative research. So you should not be making a qualitative research in the second year. Because as I said, the second year is supposed to be an application. And besides, making a qualitative research requires a lot of time. Not only 1 year, more than 1 year. Because you will have to talk to your, and even now, because of this pandemic, it will prevent you from talking from getting experiences to people, because you will have to immerse yourselves with the community, to be able to collect data, for qualitative research. That's why I don't think it will be feasible for you to do a qualitative research as students. As later on, when you become, if that's your inclination, qualitative research, you can do qualitative research later on when you become doctors. Yes. So any more questions? Well, of course, there are also systematic review and meta-analysis. That's another kind of research that we will tackle. We'll give you just one lecture on meta-analysis and systematic review next year when you go to the second year, but that's not part of what we teach you here in the first year, the systematic review and the meta-analysis. Any more questions?
Follow-up question po, Doc. Yung experimental research daw po, saan daw po siya pwedeng mag-fall under po dun sa three kinds po na research na na-discuss? Or separate kind na raw po ba siya ng research?
Okay. Unfortunately, terminologies differ among people who talk. Kasi I don't know. When you say experimental, let me just ask you, what comes into your mind when you say experimental research? Or how do you understand experimental research? Sige daw, can you explain to me what's the meaning of experimental research? Just so we will be able to have meeting of minds, because you might be talking of experimental research that's different from what I see, from what I know. When you say experimental, what does that? What does experimental research for you mean? Or anybody can answer that question. How do you understand experimental research?
Doc, gumagamit po ng mga variable, like meron pong gagamitin as control group, then separate po na group naman po is experimental group po. Like ang mga variables po dito is mga individuals po talaga that are being tested po.
Okay. So mukhang parehas tayo. Kasi the reason why I asked that is because when you were in pre-med, you had experiment. You had an experiment. Diba? And when you say experiment, for example, you are talking of a solution that you put in a test tube, and then you put it in a Bunsen burner, and then the color of that solution changes from colorless to violet or what have you. That's an experiment. So people might be thinking that that's the experimental research. No? Well, you're correct. Actually, the experimental research now is the same as the clinical research. So later on, when we talk of, and you will understand this later on when I talk of research design, we'll be talking of research design. Now, that's one of the topics that I will be giving you, and there will be 2 weeks for the research design, because that's a large topic. So I'll be talking of experimental and observational research. So that's different from unobservational and experimental. When you say experimental research, no, we give an intervention. I don't want to call it an experimental research. I want to call it an interventional research, because you're giving an intervention. So very much like as what you explained to me. So 2 treatment groups. One is given a treatment. Another one is given the control or the placebo. That's a clinical research. The same as a clinical research or an experimental or a interventional research. But of course, class, we discourage you from doing experimental or clinical researches because we don't want, because many times in experimental research, we have patients as our what do you call this, as our subjects, as our participants, but you don't see patients yet, not yet anyway. But you can do experimental research if, for example, you are talking of of something that does not need patients. That's all right. So, for example, you are talking of a strategy, teaching strategy, or a program. That's an experimental research as well, because that's an interventional. Later on, we will be discussing that to you when we discuss research design. Okay. So thank you for the questions. Any more questions? Any more questions? Any more? Okay, so, okay, let me just say to you, class, lest I might forget, this Thursday, June 27, we will have a quiz on research methodology, including introduction to research methodology, including the research problem, research question, research hypothesis. And I say to you that the quiz that I will be giving you is a prelude. So you'll be able to know the type of questions that I ask in the major exams. So it's just a 10-item quiz. I normally give you 15 minutes to finish it, but you can finish the quiz in less than 5 minutes. And the reason why I put the quiz, for you, the duration of the quiz at 15 minutes is so people who are late may be able to catch up. So the quiz starts at 6 p.m. on Thursday, 6 p.m. Okay, but you can preload 5 minutes before 6. So at 5:55 you can already preload. But just in case you are late, you can take the quiz, because I don't put a time for you to start. No, I don't put that. So you can start anytime. So if you start, for example, at 6:15, you can still get the quiz. And 6:10, I should say. But you cannot start after 6:15, because by 6:15 the quiz ends. So you can't access it anymore after 6:15 or 16:15 and beyond. So, but before 6:15, you can access it. Even at 6:14, just hope that you can finish it in 1 minute, because it will end at 6:15. Okay. So we normally have a quiz every Thursday, unless I say to you we won't have a quiz. But otherwise, the default is quiz will always be given every Thursday at 6 p.m. Okay, class, listen. I only have 8 minutes. And then 7. Okay, class, listen. I told you last time when we first met that I will be meeting you every other week. So, for example, next week, unfortunately, next week is a holiday. But suppose it's not a holiday next week, February 1, that's Chinese New Year. When is your New Year in Korea, Dakyang?
It's same for 1st and 2nd February.
Okay, so same. Okay. Anyway, so 2nd, not February 1.
February 1 also. 1st and 2nd February.
So 2 days. You have
Yes,
2 days. Okay, very good. Now, anyway, so next week will be February 1, and that's actually a holiday. So I want to really meet you. Now, suppose it's not a holiday, just to give you an idea. Just for you to understand what I mean. Okay, every other week we meet. So we are meeting today. Next week we will not meet. But I will be giving you the topic. The topic. I will be uploading a lecture either on a Saturday or on a Sunday, or even on a Friday, or rarely on a Monday. So for you to be able to view my lecture. Now, so we're not supposed to meet next week, even if it's not a holiday. But because it's a holiday, we will not meet you. Now, if you will notice, if you will see the schedule in Moodle, the topic for next week is research, is review of literature, and searching the literature. Normally, class, if the topic is review of literature, I upload the lecture prior to the class, and then on that for that day, I will normally meet you. So because my topic, for example, the next topic is review of literature, I will have to meet you that Tuesday, because I will teach you how to search the literature, actual searching, hands-on searching of the review of literature. Because the lecture is just theory, concepts on how to search the literature. But I will be giving you actually a hands-on presentation of how to search the literature. Okay, except that we don't have a class next week. So what I will be doing next week is this coming week, I will be uploading the next topic, objective formulation. So next week the topic that we will have is objective formulation. So I will be uploading that probably on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. I'll be uploading my lecture on objective formulation. That will be the next topic after the review of literature. I won't give the topic on review of literature yet. That will be after the week after the objective formulation, so that the following week we will meet. So I can show to you, I can demonstrate to you how to search the literature. Okay, so our topic for next week will be objective formulation. And the Thursday, so Tuesday is a holiday, we won't meet, but Thursday, that is on February, let me check the calendar. So 1, 2, 3, February 3, that's a Thursday. February 3, that's a Thursday. We will have a quiz on objective formulation. Okay, so even if we don't meet next Tuesday, February 1, we will still have a quiz for objective formulation on Thursday, February 3. Okay, and then I will upload my lecture on that week for review of literature, and then we meet next other Tuesday, February 8. Okay? Okay, class, do you understand? Any questions? Is that clear? Questions? Yes.
If what type yung quiz, is it multiple choice naman?
Yeah, multiple choice. Multiple choice. It's always multiple choice.
Thank you, Doc.
Any more questions? Any more? So it's already 10:54, and I normally say I dismiss you 5 minutes at 10:55. So we can dismiss you even at 10:54 if we don't have any questions anymore. No more questions? So if you don't have any questions, class dismissed, and keep safe.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you po, Doc.